Hey guys, sorry, didn't see you there. In today's episode, we're going to discuss our 7,000 kilometer journey with the Ford Ranger Raptor, and we're just going to really quickly touch on some modifications that we've done just to make it suit our application. So all in all, we've been very happy with the Ranger Raptor. We've had no mechanical issues whatsoever. The only thing that's starting to bug me a little bit is the infotainment system. Every now and then it just glitches out. I'm not sure if it's our Android Auto. The phone I'm using is a Samsung S21 Plus. It is getting on 2 years now, so I'm not sure if it's just like a compatibility issue with the wireless mirroring or whether it's a Ford thing. I'm reading online that there are some other users that are having similar issues with their Ford Ranger Raptors and also across the whole Next Gen range, I suppose. So maybe it's a bug issue that Ford can hopefully iron out in an update. Hopefully it's just an over-the-air update, but I'm led to believe that that's not even activated in Australia yet, so I'm not sure how quick that's going to come through. But apart from that, I've had no other dramas. I personally haven't had any vibration issues or anything like that. I know some guys have been talking about it, but I've got nothing to report except for happiness, I guess. So one of the first modifications I did to the Raptor, we changed the tyres out. Now, some people are very happy with the KO2s. I've personally used them in the past on some other vehicles. I've had it on our old Ranger, and I've had it on our 79 series Land Cruiser, and my personal findings were, yeah, off-road they're not bad. In the high country with the shaly stuff in the dry, they're pretty good. As soon as there's a bit of moisture, like most all-terrains, they struggle. But for me, with my family in the car where we spend 90% of the time is on the black stuff, I think they're a shocking tyre, particularly in the wet. I think they're sketchy, they understeer a lot, and under brakes they are no good. So we've upgraded to the Maxxis all-terrain tyres, and we're very happy so far. I've run Nittos almost exclusively in the past with the trail grappler, and I thought this time I'll jump ship and try out the Maxxis after a few of my friends recommend them to us. So we went just one size up to a 295/17, and we kept the standard Ford alloy. We did try our old method Con 6s with 35 by 12.5 18s, and there was a plus 18 offset with no lift. It was just scrubbing the guards too much, so we got rid of them and just upgraded the tyres instead. Maybe in the future, if there's some proper revalving stuff down here in Melbourne, I might consider going back to 35s with a slightly more aggressive offset, but we'll just wait and see to what the market brings out in that regard. Speaking about suspension, now, one of my main goals, as I just mentioned previously about revalving, was to try and keep the factory suspension factory. A lot of cars, I totally get it, they come out with cheap sort of suspension, they're built to a budget, and an upgrade is worthy. However, with the Raptor, I genuinely am very impressed with this suspension. I'm yet to jump it officially as such, but you hoon around the bush and man, the way it absorbs the bumps, like for a factory car, it is phenomenal. So very, very happy with the factory suspension. However, we go touring a bit. We got a ultimate off-road caravan at the moment. It's about 1,000 kilos with roughly 80 to 120 kilos of bore weight, depending on how much we loaded up for the trip. The rear end, as expected, was sagging. Even without the camper on the back, with things like the roof rack, which is a front runner slim sport, which is roughly 25 to 40 kilos, again, depending on what we got up there, and the Maxliner Venture Canopy, which is 95 kilos as it is. And we've also got a National Luna fridge in the back, 2 Bluetti batteries in the back, and also a Stockman slide, which is an awesome bit of kit. However, that does weigh 25 kilos. I'm not putting any drawers in. I really like drawers. I think there's a time and place for drawers, but not in the Raptor where GVM is an issue. And for us, we try to keep the back very versatile. I just throw boxes in there. As you can see now, we've got our Weber, we've got all our camping gear and some filming gear in the back at the moment. It's fairly empty. We're about to go on a trip, so we're gonna load the back up. But the best thing about going portable boxes is you just pull everything out and you've got, well, 3/4 of an empty tub, which is fantastic. It suits our needs. We put our dogs in the back. We've got a Rottweiler and a Staffy. So when I don't have any camping gear in the car or tools, it's purely empty for the kids and for the dogs on the weekends, which is fantastic. And touching on the canopy, we've got the Maxliner Venture canopy, and I love this canopy. We started off with the Raptor just being an empty tub, and then I got a 4 tonneau cover put in. I did like that. However, I was always iffy about where I parked and whether people were going to pinch some stuff out the back. So we upgraded to a HSB roller shutter, which was great for what it was. However, my fridge and the slide wouldn't fit in there, and it was a bit hard on the dogs. They don't really like the open tub. They've pretty much grew up in back of wagons and utes with canopies, so I thought just for peace of mind, we'll get a canopy again. However, the HSB roller shutter was about 40 to 45 kilos and the canopy is 95 kilos, so it is double the weight. And the Raptor, as you can see in this photo here, with just the canopy in the back, the fridge slide, the fridge and the batteries, and that's it. You can see it's kind of sitting level, I guess, with the front, but as soon as you actually put some gear and people in there, it was sagging. And it's not so much of a cosmetic thing with the sag. With these Raptors, because they sit outside of their ride zone, they just handle a little bit rougher than they do standard. Not crappy, but just not as nice as they do standard. So one way that I tackle that is I got in contact with King's Springs. King's Springs were awesome to deal with. They were really accommodating with just us selecting the right spring for our vehicle. And we ended up taking some measurements and a bit of back and forth with some weights. And we ended up consulting one of their engineers, and we decided that the King Springs from the previous Gen Raptor, the model 121, was probably the best spring for my application. And let me tell you, I am ecstatic with the ride. It's brought it back to sort of the nose down look, if you like. For me, that means that the shock is riding in its, the ride zone that it was designed to run from factory. The spring, I reckon, is actually softer than standard. The standard spring, when you're just driving normally, you feel a few bumps, as you do. But with this spring, even though I've got more weight in the car, it is more plush on the rear. We'll see how that goes when we do our trip in a couple of days when the car's fully loaded and the camper's fully loaded. But so far driving around town, great. I just did a quick fang on a dirt road yesterday, and yeah, absolutely no different than standard. If anything, a little bit softer, but that's not a bad thing in my personal opinion. I got the guys at Mates Forward Drive to supply and install the canopy for me. As I've read so many great things about them on Facebook, I thought, you know what, give them a crack. And I'm so glad I did. Chatting to the guys there, they pretty much talked me out of getting the window cut in the side. I wanted to get the small window, the slide window for the dogs, but it turns out there's no need. The back window, or the front window of the canopy, I suppose, unlatches here, and you can open the window to clean the rear of your glass, or what I use it for and what was recommended to me was keep it ajar via this little bracket that comes with the unit, and that's been great for the dogs. Just some natural airflow coming in, and apparently it even helps keep some of the dust out of the tub, which is something I'm yet to try, but I'll get back to you and let you know how that goes. The actual operation of the canopy is very straightforward. It's all central locked. So basically, if you lock the car, everything's locked. If you unlock the car, the 3-touch panel on the right activates. And if you want, you can double click on the unlock button on the remote, and that'll just pop the rear door open, which is great. If your hands are full and you're walking to the car, you can just click, click, and then the back's open. How great's that? There is a little light inside, however, it's not the brightest and it's just battery operated. So this is something I'll have to overcome in the future. Might just get like an LED strip all around this exoskeleton or internal skeleton frame, I suppose, and that should solve the lighting issue. As you can see here, it sits very flush with the factory Ford lines, which is fantastic, and that's both on the side and the roof rack as well. I'm actually in the market for a slim roof rack to fit on the rear of the canopy. I need to get in touch with Maxliner and see how high that is, and I'll report back in the comments below to see if it matches up perfectly with the Front Runner Slim Sport, or whether it's going to sit slightly higher, which is my suspicion. talking about the Slim Sport roof rack, I'm okayly happy about it, if that's a word. I fit it myself, and to be honest, it was a nightmare fitting it. The instructions are pretty much non-existent. The first one that rocked up, the wind fairing, it looked like it had been used before. There was sort of like dabs of silicone and fingerprints all over it. So, you know, credit to Front Runner, they were quick about it. They sent an express courier to pick up and drop off the new wind fairing. But still, like, this shouldn't happen from a company that's run by Dometic. You'd expect a little bit more professionalism from these guys, rather than potentially sending one that's been trialed, maybe by a shop, and whatever didn't fit, so they sent it back and they've sent it to us. I'm not sure what's happened, but apart from the initial issue of receiving the, I'm going to say secondhand goods, and the almost lack of instruction, the one saving grace for this roof rack, to be honest, the reason why I haven't ripped it off yet is it is phenomenally quiet. There's almost no wind noise. I'm not sure if that's entirely the product itself or whether it's the sound insulation that I've put in the ceiling from Car Builders in Kilsyth. I've used their stage 1 kit, which is essentially the foam that suppresses the sound, and also it's got the thermal lining as well. I reckon the sound insulation, just in my previous history of putting it into the 79 series, which turned that car from a farm truck to almost like a Mercedes-Benz, it was that quiet after. I highly recommend to you guys that if you're going to drop the hood lining or the roof lining to install any brand roof rack, I highly recommend you spend about $100 and just do the sound insulation on the roof. It also helps with the heat in summer as well. All right, sound insulation test. Car Builders Australia on a new Ranger Raptor. So we have no insulation here versus the sheets. Not bad versus the sheets and the insulator. Pretty good. Very happy with that. It's going to be like a brand new Mercedes-Benz when we're finished. All right, I've had a few questions about the lights on the roof rack. Front Runner want like $600 or something for their slim roof rack light bar. I've just gone with Ford Drive Supercenter and I picked up their 30-inch light bar for like, I think it was like $60. So you can't go wrong. The amount of times I drive at night is minimal, and the amount of times that I drive with the light bar on is even less again. So for me, I couldn't justify spending $500 or $600 on a light bar on the roof. If we were doing like a lap around Australia and we're touring a lot at night, yeah, you know, you'd probably spend the extra to get a good light. But so far, the King's one's been great. The lights on the side are the steady rock lights. I've got 4 of them in total, and the brackets that I've made up, rather than drilling into the roof rack itself, I've just gone to Bunnings and got some angled bracket, cut them, sprayed them myself, mounted them straight to the roof rack. I've used the big eyelets to secure it in, which is good because if I need to run the eyelet through, I can just unscrew that by hand, pull the light out, slide the eyelet in and put it back in. If I use a nut and bolt, for example, it's just some extra tools that are needed. So this just eliminates the need to get extra tools out to keep the roof rack flexible. In terms of wiring, I've just soldered everything, as you can see up here, to a big weatherproof gland. And I've just used these stick-on cable management systems. I don't know how long they're gonna last, to be honest. It's just some leftover stuff. I don't know if they're UV rated. I think you can get some that are UV rated, but it uses 3M tape, so let's see how that goes. I'll report back if they start failing and coming off. So in terms of wiring the lights, they're fairly straightforward on the Next Gen Rangers if you've got the premium pack or a Raptor with the switch panel up above. I won't go into the wiring stuff too much. It's fairly straightforward, and there's a lot of information online and in your Ford's manual about where to pick up power from. But essentially, I just got a steady cable manager which sticks onto the windscreen, which has been awesome. So I've just run a 5-core cable I got from an auto elec, which is 3mm, which is plenty to run individual lights. I think the rock lights draw like 1/2 amp each, and the light bar, it should be around 7 to 10 amps, so a 3mm will be fine. Even sharing the same earth or the neutral, it'd be no dramas at all. So I've just run that straight down through the bonnet, following the guard and some other wiring around the battery straight to the pickup point. So on this plug here, you have AUX1, AUX2 and AUX6. And I just pinched the ground from the dedicated ground spot on the side of the guard and it's nice. Wiring was nice and easy. Just soldered everything, used weatherproof resin that makes it entirely waterproof, and all the connections are great. In terms of the operation, they only come on with ignition, so you need to have your ignition on, and then you can use left and right or 1 and 2 on the AUX. And with the light bar, you need to ensure that your high beam's on, otherwise it won't work, as per ADR rules. And the last mod, which I've already made a video about, you can see down here, it's about the Turbosmart blow-off valve. And look, do you need it? Absolutely not. Not unless you're running big boosts and stuff which I might do in the future, but at the moment, it's just a fun thing. I've always had turbo cars and drift cars and stuff, and that little tss just makes it, you know, just puts a smile on your face every time it does it, to be honest. I like it. And finally, in terms of other modifications, I've taken the car to Stewart Brown, who's reflashed the car, or I suppose using Forscan is probably a better term. And I've just added a whole bunch of features like auto door lock, closing the chime, adjusting the time that the 12 volt outlets time out now. I've changed mine to 90 minutes rather than instant, so I can just run things like a laptop or a phone for that 90 minutes, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I might make a separate video about that later, but if you guys have a look online, especially on the Facebook pages, there's a fair bit of information about Forscan. I end up paying a guy to do it. However, if you've got time and the knowledge and a laptop and the right cable for the car, and you're happy to upload this stuff into your car, by all means do it. You can do it. Apparently you can buy the cable for about 40 bucks. I'm not sure about the software or anything like that. I personally was too worried I was going to brick the car, so I've left that to the professionals. So we've done 7,000 Ks, and all in all, I'm very happy with the performance of the car at the moment. Touch wood, if something was to happen to the car, honestly, I'd just go and order another one. There's no other ute or car that I'm excited about at the moment. Our previous car was a Y62, and I love that thing. It was a massive bus, but this just puts a smile on your face every time you drive it. Whether you're driving it sedately, it is super comfortable. Whether you're hooning around, you just flick it to sports mode and it's pretty much a sports car. Or you head bush, you chuck both the lockers on and it is an unstoppable weapon. Or if you're fanging around on the dirt roads and access roads, set it to Baja mode and just send it. It is like a Swiss Army knife of cars. The only thing that lets it down, which is its advantage, is the whole tow capacity and payload thing. However, 717 kilos I think is a payload, and you'd be surprised, that's up there with a lot of other wagons. The tow capacity thing, you know what, it is what it is. If you tow an excavator every day, or you need to tow a big 3-ton or 3.5-ton caravan like we used to, then it's not the right car for you. If you're happy to make a few compromises in your setup, keep everything nice and light, and also have a lightweight camper trailer, this car is going to feel and drive fantastic all the time. It's so easy to overload your car, and I reckon the more payload you got, the more stuff you put in there. And I'm guilty of that. In our 79 series, we had a GVM upgrade, and man, I went to town. Everything you could think of was in the back of that car. We had 2 fridges, we had a hot water system, we had an oven, we had drawers, we had cookers, we had a rooftop tent, we had all sorts of stuff in that car. And yeah, you had everything there, but the car drove like a pig. And off-road, all that thing could do was lift wheels. I know it's just a leaf-sprung ute, and they're not really renowned for flex, but standard, the car wasn't actually too bad. It was capable with the twin lockers, and as soon as we added weight, it ruined the car, in my opinion. So my advice is, if you're going to get a Raptor or any forward drive, keep it light. The car's going to drive the best. You're going to have the least fuel usage. It's going to drive the nicest. It's going to be the smoothest and the most capable car. Not to mention wear and tear and other things on the vehicle would be significantly reduced with a lightweight setup. All right, guys, that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you have any questions, please just leave the comments down below in the video, or if there's anything you want to see or anything you want a bit more clarification about, I'm happy to answer your questions. And please guys, if you like any of this stuff and you want to see more, please consider subscribing to our channel and just hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Thanks guys, see you on the next one.